Hello, 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 hello there, lady. Hello there, lady. Well, 7 o'clock. I'm doing a live reading, so I'm going to go and spread the word. There's 30 minutes left, so I am going to do that now. Let's see. First, to the Rabbit Hole Express. Quick, Batman, to the Rabbit Hole Express. Let's see. That looks like Russian. Oh, here we go. Copy video link. Yes. Vanessa. How much? Okay. Okay, I'm just spreading the good word. Spreading the good word! So I'm in my travel trailer. I'm going to give a little introduction in a little while before I do the reading. And, but first, I'm going to wait for you guys and also share this good old link to the Rabbit Hole Express, Facebook, and Instagram, so people will know that it's running. My computer is going pretty slow today. Hopefully it speeds up. All right. There we go. Okay. Okay. Current window. Cool. And then I can go back to the thing and then share it on Facebook. Good old Facebook. My dad at the same time. I can't really do it like that. Post into Facebook. Well, I guess I can, while I'm trying to share this, just go over some history here. This has never been used. The history behind this is it's never been used, especially when it should. When I got stopped in Kansas, very good fucking favor. But he wouldn't have had to if I just motherfucking used this, but I didn't. And anyways, I have it now. Let me just share this to Facebook. Live virtual reading of the way to your is down the rabbit hole. Did that whole thing just get deleted? That's so weird. All right. All right. Post to Facebook. And it is posted. Wait. That's posted. Okay, cool. All right, now, last but certainly not least, let's try to do it on, what's it called? Instagram, starting the show at 7 p.m. Here comes. Wait, what? The link you followed may be broken, or the. Oh, right. So weird. So fucking weird. It's the way I like it. Okay, so I have 7 minutes until I gotta get this show on the road. Am I able to share a laptop? Gonna see if I remember it. It's been a little tiny while. I think you have to press. Oh, I remember. Right click on this old MacBook. Right? I think this is gonna do it. Hopefully it'll do it. Okay. I go to inspect, I believe. Did I do it right? Let's see if I did it right. Oh, I did. Okay, awesome. Now I think I gotta click here next to elements. Source. Console. Elements. I forgot what to do here. You're supposed to right click, then all that code shit comes up. I don't remember. Okay, wait. Is this something? Nope. Supposed to right click, inspect, and then I think you're supposed to. Did I do it? Let's see if I did it. Probably not. Alright. Probably I'm not going to be able to share it on Instagram, I don't think. Am I? Probably not. Yeah, I don't think I can. Oh well, show's about to start in 5 minutes. So if I can't get people from Instagram, oh wait, maybe I can. Wait. Oh, my fucking phone. I have 5 minutes. All right. Let's see if I. Okay. And I just gotta grab this link. Copy link. This link. Copy link. This link. Copy link. I just created a feedback loop. This link. Copy link. I just created a feedback loop. This link. Copy link. I just created a feedback loop. This link. Copy link. I just created a feedback loop. That's so fucking cool. Okay. So now, okay. I have 4 minutes left. I'm getting sidetracked here. Instagram. Okay, I just wanted to. Okay. Add. I press add. Oh no. Okay. I guess direct. All right. Screw it. Shared it on Facebook. I think that's enough. Maybe I can share it on my page. So I'm gonna go back here to the live stream. All right, and do express page and posts and write something and watch the virtual reading of the e-book. Alright. And paste. And shared. Okay. And there we go. And I'm just going to go and get the chapter out. Yes. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Let's make some magic. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing tonight? And simple. And I hope that everyone is ready for the live virtual reading of The Way to Yurei, Down the Rabbit Hole, Chapter 6, Who and or What is God Anyways? So it is now 6:59. We have 1 more minute. Un momento. And hopefully you guys can hear me clearly. The last few times, it hasn't worked out. I'm thinking of trying something else. I have tried something else out in the near future. This is still the beginning process of me trying to do a business called the Rabbit Hole, where you can do the interactive ebook adventure first, whatever way, or you can do one and not the other. It really depends on you. But I venture more the trip in perspective for you. So basically, getting high and climbing mountains, and essentially, it's facing your fears and basically learning more about yourself and enough to take control of your life story and rewrite your own story. And I feel like I've been able to do it, and I feel like perhaps maybe others might be able to do it. And it's a very fun adventure. We're going to get high, climb mountains. There's going to be pot therapy, pot picnics, pot parkouring, pot hiking. Fucking, there's going to be like, oh yeah, I said pot picnics, right? With like pot edibles and pot infused drinks. It's gonna be fucking awesome, and we're gonna explore the town. It's gonna be a really awesome fucking adventure. Now, not granted, not everything is gonna be weed, but almost everything, like 60 to 80%, somewhere within that range. So, with that said, it is now 7:02. I would like to first introduce my 3 little birds. I never really named them, and I should, but I'm gonna call this bird number A. They each have their own little distinct features. Bird number B. Next time around, I'll have a name for them. Bird number C. And can't forget. Oh shoot. The green brain. But really, that's actually not part of the story. This is part of the story, however. When you get to chapter 7, it's called The Labyrinth and the Heart-Shaped Rock. You can tell it's in the shape of a human heart. The apex of the human heart and the base. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Apex, base of the human heart, right? Now look at this. So I found this in Yurei. It splits into 2 hemispheres. One for my other significant other, if I ever find her. Hopefully I do. Maybe I will. I don't know. And if I do, I will go on top of a really tall mountain in Yurei, and that's to her. Okay, so let me put these 3 birds away. Say bye, bye. All right. Traveling in my travel trailer. All right. So I guess it's time for the reading. I know it's time for the reading. All right, you guys ready? And here we go. Who and or what is God anyways? Quote, We are the universe experiencing itself. End quote. I've been forced to adapt to new situations all my life, since the move from New York to Florida. All I have ever known is change. Not even a year has passed by after arriving in Florida when my siblings and I were ripped out of our home and placed into the care of others who held different values. We were never with a family long enough to shape our values into theirs. We did not have enough time to get used to them for them to become the norm like it would for other kids. We only had enough time to taste their principles, both the good and the bad. Because of this, I was able to compare and contrast, allowing me to figuratively throw out values that were trash and keep the values that were conducive for a better life and a better world. Over time, I would build a set of values that were unique in perspective and complete in functionality. But my values were not traditional and cookie-cutted like most. I have been put under much scrutiny for it. But who are they to say what values I should hold? What authority do they have over me? I am the creator and controller of my image, not others. And it frustrates me to know that I allowed myself to be abused for so long. Enough. Stop telling me what is good and just. Stop telling me I have to believe in your God. Your God is not my God. Not anymore. Not since I took over the steering wheel that fateful day when I chose to put food on my table instead of slaving away to a God that I have never met or seen before. Today of all days I write this, Yom Kippur Eve 2020, the Jewish Day of Atonement. But I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry for being me. Fuck you. I'm not sorry for being the lawbreaker everyone condones me for. I smoke pot. Shoot me. I drop acid. Call the fucking cops on me. You think you're so righteous because you hide behind your God? Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, herdsmen, I say, but they call themselves the good and the just. Herdsmen, I say, but they call themselves the believer in the orthodox belief. Behold, the good and the just. Whom do they hate most? Him who breaketh up their table of values, the breaker, the lawbreaker. He, however, is the creator. Behold, the believers of all beliefs. Whom do they hate most? Him who breaketh up their table of values, the breaker, the lawbreaker. He, however, is the creator. Companions the creator seeketh, not corpses, and not herds or believers either. Fellow creators, the creator seeketh, those who grave new values on new tables. End quote. Under whose authority does God work? The Jew, the Muslim, the Christian, etc. Who, depending on who you will ask, will depend on what answer you get. And that's the point. You are never going to get a single answer. And do you know why? Because like Santa Claus, God is a construct of the human mind. He isn't real. At least not the God defined for us in traditional religions. It is this very fact that allows us to redefine God as we see fit in our image. Specifically because no one has the authority to say who and or what God is anyways. So I decided I was God. I am a creator, an engineer, an artist, an entrepreneur, and maybe even one day a baby maker. So it was naturally fitting to make that connection for myself. When I divorced Heather, I divorced myself from the God everyone expected me to hold on to. I fully embraced creating my own path, mastering every challenge that came and will come my way, and shaping me into the man I ought to be. Heather was the only thing tying me to my past God. Once she let go, I was completely free from the table of past values that I had shackled myself to for so long. I still had one shackle left holding me hostage. Once that broke, I ran to the mountains of Ure to get away. I knew nothing of this place, yet I ran there, risking my life on many corners. I did so because I was yearning for something meaningful to save me from my existential crisis. And then I saw it, Mount Abram, the defining feature of Ure. It was the most captivatingly majestic mountain I've ever seen in person. It stood in the background, as one would see when driving into town from the north entrance. After picking up some weed from the local dispensary in Ridgeway, within minutes you can see Mount Abram, and at that moment you would be 10 to 15 minutes away from the little hidden town of Ure. From a distance, Mount Abram warmly welcomes everyone into the cozy town. It lays deep in a valley surrounded by the Perimeter Trail. On the northeast part of the trails is Cascade Falls. Just before you reach the waterfall, on the highest part of the trail, right where my name is carved into, you can look down and see all of town. Main Street is the first noticeable feature the town of inside of the town of Ure. You can see all the houses, apartments, the inns, and all the businesses in a single view. From the same spot where my name sits, if you were to look south, you will see Million Dollar Mile, another landmark feature of Ure that reminds me of Germany's Autobahn, a road curving upward like a mega snake. There are hidden trails throughout the super windy part of Million Dollar Mile. Then, once the road straightens out a bit, the first stop is Bear Creek Mountain. I spent much time in Ure thinking about my life and its meaning. When my life crumbled around me, I was more certain than ever that I was the only one who could fix me, that the only one who will always be there for me is me. It was this understanding that pushed me to redefine important parts of my life. Who am I? What is my purpose? What is the nature of my relationship with people? The biggest one was, what is the nature of my relationship with God? I know I labeled myself an agnostic atheist, but during my first stay in Ure, I decided to press the restart button, get rid of the label, and then readdress the question. Answering what the nature of my relationship with God was, the mountains of Ure, put things into perspective for me. Everyone is in the same boat in that God is given to us as a concept, usually when we are children, and we define God as the source of all existence. Many even go as far and say it purposefully brought us into existence. The silent understanding, a subconscious understanding, is that before we were ever told about God, we view our parents as the source and authority of our existence, and in essence are our God. But then that shifts when our parents and teachers tell us that the authority over us actually comes from an invisible super parent that even our parents are born from and must obey. My relationship with God ceased to work in this way one day. And my first time in Ure, I redeveloped my relationship with God on acid. The other versions of myself that I saw on higher planes of our universe was my mind's way of interpreting the unfiltered data that my brain was able to receive under the influence, parentheses. I also believe the geographical features of Ure played a role in this acid trip, end parentheses. Somewhere on the line between imagination and reality, I reconnected to God. The heavens opened up before me, and I was engulfed by the pulsating rips in space-time. They were there. There they were, inside a pocket of the universe. I first met myself as a woman there. Initially, I could not tell she was me. As we continued our exchange, she became ever more familiar. By the time I recognized who she was, I had already finished the psychedelic trip and gained her insight. I am interlaced with the infinite versions of myself. That means in some shape and form, our outcomes are related. The higher versions of myself are more aware of my existence than I am of theirs. In some shape and form, I am what they once were in the present time. Every decision I have made and will make, and in parentheses, and to some degree, the decision my parents and natural conditions have made, end parentheses, splits off into infinite directions, some being my best decisions and others being my worst. Either way, they know me better than I know them because they are extensions of my current self. That night, my first time in Ure, they looked back at that fork in the road and they saw me catching up to them. Somewhere between them and myself lied the current place and time where we met and exchanged information. It was here that I felt the nurturing power of nature through higher versions of myself out on the balcony of my cabin in Ure. It was good to finally feel like I'm not being judged and that I can open up and be who I am in front of all of me to see, past, present, and future. It is here where we all met that broke down the barriers between each part of the process of my life, past, present, and future. At its essence is me. I only know me through me, but I don't know me through them. I can't completely fathom what it's like to be them. It's like how Neil deGrasse Tyson puts it. Ants, ants, ants view us in a similar way we would view a four-dimensional alien. Their level of consciousness lays on the fourth volume bounded by three-dimensional cube sides. Our level of consciousness lies on the third volume bounded by six square sides inside one of the cube sides of the fourth dimensional space. Somehow, through the fourth dimensional version of myself, was I able to, in some shape and form, come in contact with another six sided square universe version of myself at a zero dimensional point in space time. I was still bound by the three-dimensional prison I live in, but I was able to experience something from a parallel reality, like when a square meets a sphere. If I was a two-dimensional being bounded by four one-sided dimensional sides, seeing a dot appear and grow into a circle right in front of me, I would not know that it may be a three-dimensional sphere going through my two-dimensional square world. This would be what I experienced on my acid trip in the third dimension. My brain's interpretation of the sphere going through the square manifested first as the third dimensional shape of the lady version of myself without facial features. She showed me my life steering wheel isn't just controlled by me, but by the infinite sided dimensions of the conscience I'm a piece of. My control is ant-like compared to the fourth dimensional being I'm a particle of. Can can I even call it me? It would make more sense to say I am it, and the only way for me to meet it at the point of contact is through all the other third dimensional cubes of all eight sides of the fourth dimensional tesseract. Uh, why is Flash Player popping up? This is weird. Weird. I'm trying to cancel it. Hold on, guys. I'm so sorry. That's weird. It's not. It's like someone's taking over my computer. Okay, that's weird. There we go. Okay, it's off. I don't know what just happened. That was really weird. Sorry, guys. Okay, let me just go back a sentence. Sorry. My control is ant-like compared to the fourth dimensional being I'm a particle of. Can I even call it me? It would make more sense to say I am it, and the only way for me to meet it at the point of contact is through all the other third dimensional cubes on all eight sides of the fourth dimensional tesseract. That's an infinite number of myselves, all on a single zero-dimensional point. I believe that is why I was able to interact with them. Everything folded into itself. They popped through the fourth dimension as a variety of, figuratively speaking, spherical manifestations of the infinite versions of myself. And through myself, I was able to gain a new heart of information. My essence was uplifted through the chaos of existence, and from the highest mountains that I could climb, I found harmony in the fog below me. However, I belong with everyone else beneath the surface of the fog, where it is the densest. I got what I needed from above the noise, and now it's time to bring some balance to the noise below. My coworkers were the first to notice it after I went the first time around. I was calmer than before I left for my trip. They said I seemed happier as well, and for the first time in a while, I felt free, like I am on top of the world and ready to face my divorce head on with a game plan. Spending time with myself in the Rocky Mountains during the separation was like being a kid again, but with no adults to tell me how to grow up and to tell me to grow up and believe what I'm told to believe in. No one to tell me how to live, just me and the ice-covered mountains to climb and play on. I wanted to reminisce on the past, tying my loose ends to my inner child's loose ends that he too carried after all these years. If you don't mind holding on for a second, I just need a little something to drink. Hold on. Throat's a little dry. All right. I'm back. All right. He has been holding on to these loose ends for so long, and now I have the opportunity to help him tie them up. He has been connected to every one of my decisions that I have and will make, but we were separated by the loose ends. Since Heather and I split, I have had the opportunity to tie them up with him since then. We still have a lot of tying up to do, but at least my inner child and I finally now have time to talk with no had time to talk with no one to interrupt us. I have the opportunity to share what I have learned as an adult. Ooh, we may need these. That would probably be smart. Will these help? Let's see. Okay. Okay, I think that helps. We still have a lot of tying up to do, but at least my inner child and I finally now have time to talk with no one to interrupt us. I have the opportunity to share what I have learned as an adult. I can advise him without any outside opinion. The advice that I would give him is to know that there will always be bumps in the road, but overall it gets better. I would also let him know that he should and will end up being thankful for all the challenges life threw at him at an early age. I would let him know that there are good people who will love him, but he has to remember that they're in the same boat as him. Everyone, including his abusers, come from a place of trauma and suffering too, no matter how different of an experience they may have been through. Excuse my French. I would inform him that because everyone comes from a place of injury, they will project their hurt in their hearts into the real world, and if you are not careful, they will try to trap you in the chains that hang from their table of values. I would remind him that they will try every step of the way to chain him down, and when they do, and they will from time to time, I would tell him that he must remember that he is the breaker of values. I was born and developed into something who isn't easily held captive by another person's values. I was shaped by the ability to adapt to new values. I would have my inner child understand that he is a creator of values, not the slave of values. I would tell him that he is like the matrix that holds all of the all of the infinite universe together, the shaper, not the shaping. Sorry, guys. Yeah, not the shaping. I would tell him that he has higher values, and I would have him acknowledge that he has the ability to become a better man than he was yesterday because of it. But the most important thing I would tell him, when the cops come to your school and they ask you who gave you both of those black and blue eyes, tell them the truth. You won't regret a minute of it. I promise you, kid. My religious shaping in my early 20s is what brought me to eventually recognize my ability to shape my own values and my own path. When I grew up and went to college, I met an interesting fellow named Anthony Raquel Walker. The first time we met, he had a clean-shaven face, nice crew cut, and was running for student body president. He was intelligent and charming, and he seemed to fit the description that he was campaigning for, a visionary and a potential leader. He sold me his vision like Bernie Sanders did to me all those years later at the turn of American democracy. Not even a year later, when he was taking a world religions class, not even a year later, when I was trying to take a world religions class, wait, not even a year later, when I was taking a world religions class, trying to find myself, he appeared to me as an angel. At least the light shining over him in the building. Wow, my reading is horrible right now. Okay. He sold me his vision like Bernie Sanders did to me all those years later at the turn of American democracy. Not even a year later, when I was taking a world religions class trying to find myself, he appeared to me as an angel. At least the light shining over him in a blinding manner made him appear angelic. I was in the computer room in the college library, at war with a master debater on the other end of the internet, when he walked up to me. His shadow is what gave notice to me. I looked up at a black man with a Muslim-looking yarmulke and a really long beard, and then he then sat down next to me. His face was familiar, but his message was new. By the time I recognized him, he already had me deep in thought. Captivated by mystery, I would soon come to terms with Judaism because of my newly formed relationship with Anthony. If it wasn't for him and my cousin Yitzchak, I don't think I would have come back to Judaism. Anthony came from a religious Christian background, his father being a priest from Jamaica. He ended up rejecting his family values only to be turned down for 15 years by rabbis who wouldn't give him the time of day in the world to convert to Judaism. Nevertheless, he kept on persisting, and to some degree still persists to this very day. He even, from time to time, would try to convince me to go back to Judaism, but after my divorce with Heather, things became sour between me and Anthony. At that point, he lost his touch with reality, and I didn't recognize the intelligent and charming potential leader that he once was when I first met him. Things have changed dramatically since the first day we met. I don't regret coming back to Judaism or even leaving it a second time. They were learning curves. Where I am now, this takes me on the path to form my own connection with God, a God that is more tangible than what I have been taught, a God that does not require faith, just appreciation for its majestic symmetry, a God that is more than just an idea, but also an object of desire, a God that will take more than an entire lifetime to understand. I think I had parentheses, and maybe to some degree still, end parentheses, an obsession with the concept of infinity when I was younger. The earliest memory of this obsession was my thought experiment from when I was 11 years old. I drew a mental connection. Second. I drew a mental line to me. Okay. The earliest memory of this obsession was my thought experiment from when I was 11 years old. I drew a mental line to me and someone else at any point in space, only to draw the conclusion that no matter where they go, no matter what planet or object in the way, they will always be in my direction. I furthered my conclusion that everything must be part of some sort of great circle. The obsession grew even deeper in my early 20s. I believe the Lotus event at age 17 with my dad helped to land me on this loop. That conversation made me question everything I knew, from the ethics of vegetarianism to the understanding of God and his role in Judaism. That's why after acing my sorry, that's why after acing my summer astronomy course as a newly identified pantheist, I decided to take a world religions course. I never heard of the term pantheist before until someone asked me if I was. I looked it up and I could understand at that moment why he asked. My idea that I thought up and drew out on paper my ideas that I thought up and drew out on paper were consistent with Baruch Spinoza's ideas of the universe and God. That means my ideas weren't as crazy as some people said it was. Um, I decided I may be onto something, and I decided it would be a good idea to follow it down the rabbit hole. So I did. I jumped into my first day of world religions. It was a night class. It wasn't dark. It wasn't dark out yet, but there was no sun either. I remember the professor walking in and the pretty girl next to me, or across from me, I can't fully remember. But I believe I remember noticing her because she was fucking drop dead gorgeous. I had my yarmulke on. I was not orthodox. I was not an Orthodox Jew again just yet. I wore it to remind myself of where I come from. But nevertheless, I think that is what attracted her to come up to me in the halls during break and start a conversation with me. She asked me if I was Jewish, and if I would teach her Hebrew. I remember how to read and write it, but I never really learned how to hold down a full conversation. Anyways, we of Davy, aka Confederate Central. We had a it was at my apartment. We were watching an Orthodox Jewish reggae rapper, Matisyahu, do an Israeli tour documentary together on my couch. Our legs magnetically pulled together to rub on each other, and before I knew it, we were ripping each other's clothes off. As of age 34, the time of this documentation of this section of the book, I have never had anyone make me orgasm from a blowjob other than her before. She was on fire. Her boobs were squirting milk, and it tasted like sweet heaven. I never thought too deep into it until the documentation of these words on this page, but she may have been pregnant, and that would explain everything that took place in our relationship. We held different values. I was evolving from pantheism to panentheism, and she was a practicing Christian. Obviously, she wasn't the strictest, but she definitely took the Bible at face value. She took me to church with her once, and I took her for falafels another time, but our relationship did seem to be based around sex. I remember after the second time we broke up and we decided to get back together a third time, our plans were to meet at the Olive Garden. She never showed, and I remember being furious. We ended up rescheduling. She told me she has an older gentleman friend of hers who needs to be picked up at the airport first, and after she drops him off, she'll meet up with me at the college. She never showed. I called her many times until she picked up and told me to never call her again or she would call the cops. I never bothered her again after that. What happened? Why did she throw me out like that? I am now convinced it is because she was pregnant, and that it was with that older gentleman that she told me about. I remember her talking about him almost as someone very important in her life in an intimate way. I'm now thinking that guy is her husband or sugar daddy, and he came back from his business trip and she did not need a boy toy anymore. I think her pregnant I think her pregnant ass was horny, and all she had was me, a guy 8 years younger. She wasn't poppin' pregnant, like at all. She had a fit, skinny body, so I did not think she was pregnant at the time and for years after. Plus, she told me that she wasn't, and that milk can sometimes come out of women who are not pregnant. After she said that, I barely thought about it after. Maybe once or twice, but even if she was telling the truth about the milk, the other shady shit still points in that direction, more so than any other explanation that I can think of. It really could be we did not agree ideologically on things, but it can also be because she was pregnant with Mr. Rich Business Grandpa Seaman, and he happened to come back, and I was incessantly calling her, and she dropped me so I didn't ruin her sugar shacking. I don't know. But it was right around that time that while I was being influenced by Anthony's persuasive arguments for the existence of God and the truth of Judaism, my cousin Yitzchak was influencing me as well about Judaism. One night, my cousin Yitzi and Aaron were at my apartment in Davie, hanging out with me. We were deep into discussion about the nature of God. I was at a turning point in my spiritual perspective. I went from a perspective of God being the universe, which is pantheism, to the universe being a part of God, which is panentheism. I wasn't convinced yet that God wanted us to follow a set of laws or had a will. It was then that my cousin mentioned God being infinite. That's what caught my attention. What did you say? I asked Yitzchak. Uh, Excuse my French. He replied, I said God is infinite. I never thought of God in that perspective. I always imagined God as a man-looking figure somewhere above us. It was at that moment that my perspective on religion changed. If God was infinite, indivisible, and had no form, as my cousin Yitzi put it, that God could theoretically do anything, thus rendering Judaism potentially the truth. But I still was not 100% convinced. What makes Judaism different from Christianity? My cousin answered, no other religion can claim that 6 million people, an entire nation, saw and heard God talk to them. No one has ever made such a claim because no one has thousands of generations of those who kept it alive to say it is true. That was the golden statement that got me to believe Judaism was the correct religion. Out of all the religions that I've been studying, Judaism was the only one left to argue with. And the more I argued with it, the closer I got to believing in it again until I embraced it completely into my life. Until okay, you got the gist. My aunt, yeah, okay. Anyways, my aunt told me about a rabbi, Rabbi Posner, who's not too far from me in Confederate Central. She didn't call it that, But I find it funny because Davie was once known as Confederate Central. There were still remnants of them when I was living there at the time. Anyways, she told me that he holds services for the college kids at Nova. I believed in Judaism at this point in my life, and I knew I had to change the way I was living. I learned from the rabbi that I don't have to jump in the deep end to start off. He said that since I have been so saturated in the non Jewish world for so long, that I should take baby steps in the shallow end. So I did. I first stopped watching TV on Saturdays. Then I stopped using my phone on Saturdays. Then I stopped driving my car on Saturdays and would sleep over the rabbi's house to keep the Sabbath. Then, after the inevitable fall back to eating meat, I moved closer to my aunt and uncle, where there was a synagogue within walking distance, completing my transformation back into Orthodox Judaism. I was on a new road with new shoes. I saw and felt the world in a way I never imagined I could. Orthodox Judaism was more real to me than it was the first time around. It was my Judaism. I found it. And I was more certain than ever that I was onto something big here. I let it consume my every thought. Even when I masturbated. Pathetic! I know. You don't have to say anything. My whole life and all the questions and woes were being answered by the Torah, the Jewish Bible, as if God were speaking directly to me through this book and through every action in my life. My very first meaningful spiritual experience was in the parking lot of Office Max. That same yarmulke that I was wearing since the Lotus incident and subsequently in that world religions class was the same one I wore when I became religious again. The problem was that I had nothing to hold it on with. So if I moved my head too fast or the wind was strong, it was see you in St. Louis, pal. I eventually learned to feel for when and where it would fly off in order to catch it. But the time came when even my mad kung fu skills could not face such a heavy force. A mighty wind blew across the parking lot of Office Max when it grabbed my yarmulke and blew it towards the front of the store. I chased that son of a bitch, but it kept on beating me. I finally was able to grab it. I picked it up. I kissed it. Looked up to the sky and said, yeah, I know I have to get pins for it. It was right then and there that I understood who and or what God is. And for shits and giggles, it was as if God himself was confirming with a joke by having a fully dressed, head-to-toe nun with a 6-inch cross around her neck walk into the store before me. Even as an agnostic atheist, this is still my very foundation to the current God I'm in a relationship with now. If I don't want the yarmulke to keep blowing off my head, then stop being an idiot and buy a few pins. I realized God has always been talking to me, and I just was never listening. In this case, he was telling me to put on pins if I don't want to waste time chasing my yarmulke. Such a simple act of nature brought me closer to my roots. But the novelty would turn into arrogance and absolutism. While I may have made new friends and family, hi Hodiah! Hi Josh! Hi Dror! Hi, Smutty! I started to alienate my other family and friends. I guess when I am passionate about something, I tend to be a bit obsessive. That ends up turning people off. But my parents, they're like anti explosives. I'm not saying that they didn't have their moments when they felt like abandoning me, but they never did. Even when I was a complete douchebag. I remember the eve of my turning. No, not that turning. My father and I were arguing about the liberal movements of Judaism. I intensely believed these unkosher movements, or groups, I should say, were going to not last much longer. He was a conservative Reform Jew. This is my adopted father, just to clarify. He was a conservative Reform Jew, which makes him a liberal Jew. And in his mind, the only form of Judaism that was going extinct was Orthodox Judaism. I was really harsh on him that night, and if it were anyone else, they would have disowned me. Not even 12 hours later, I get a phone call from American Ambulance. I was a bit surprised since I applied to them months before this incident, never heard back, and was even desperate to find a job that I looked elsewhere, like like grocery stores. They they said they have accepted my application for hire and that I need to do orientation in order to move forward with them. I should probably plug this in first. I don't lose you guys. Okay. Okay. Wait. No, we'll just leave it there. Okay. Okay. Here we are. Okay, so American Ambulance. Yeah, they said they've accepted my application for hire and that I need to do orientation in order to move forward with them. The only 2 days that were available fell on the high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. I let them know that those days are high holidays in my religion, and they told me that I could reapply in December, but there is no guarantee that there will be an opening. I spent the next few days trying to figure out what I should do. Was God trying to teach me a lesson for being a prick to everyone about Judaism? Even if an intelligent being was not trying to teach me a lesson, I definitely learned one. I ended up choosing to do the orientation on Sukkot, but not first without my Rabbi Lieberman, trying to persuade me to live with him and sleep on his couch while I work at one of his butcher shops in order to stay faithful to God. I remembered that my biological father was once in a similar situation a decade and a half before that with Rabbi Lieberman. He slept on Rabbi Lieberman's couch for quite some time and worked for him in one of his butcher shops. My dad was a lazy, drunk parasite. I did not want to end up like him, so I turned down Rabbi Lieberman's offer. After orientation was over, I was torn in half. Things were disconnected. Every time I prayed, or put on the leather wrappings of the tefillin, or just any Jewish practice in general, felt fake. I felt like I was wearing someone else's skin. One Sabbath day, as I was praying, I paused and asked, asked myself, who am I praying to? That question engulfed my mind for days on end until I came to the conclusion that I don't know if God exists and wants me to fulfill his will. I wasn't a disbeliever just yet, but my stance on knowledge had shifted from absolutism and arrogance to uncertainty and humility. And then, not too long after, Elise came into the picture. And then and then she was out of the picture 9 months later. And the next major romance, Siona, an Orthodox from birth but traumatized individual, would try to get me to go back to Judaism. But after release, I was certain of my uncertainty in supernatural explanations, and so it did not work out with Siona. The only person who was able to get me to at least face back in that direction was Heather. She could never convince me to believe in it again, but she did convince me to participate in it since I was married to her, and that it and that it and that is what she wanted to do. She would actually trick me into doing things. Like this one time in band camp. No, I'm just kidding. Like this one time, a couple weeks before the high holiday of Yom Kippur, she told me that she got us 2 free tickets to Yom Kippur services, and all we had to do was listen to a lecture a few days before Yom Kippur services. The night of the lecture, as we were about to get in the car to drive off to it, she told me that the name of the lecture was Why God is Not Dead. Now it made sense as to why she waited until the last minute to tell me the title of the lecture. Because she knew I would resist going if I knew that it was going to be about bashing atheists. We got there. It was inside of a synagogue. The rabbi asked everyone there, who in the audience is an atheist? I looked all around and not one single person raised their hand. Kind of makes sense. No one who willingly goes to a synagogue would be an atheist. I wasn't a willing subject. I was the exception. I started to slowly raise my hand when Heather grabbed it and shoved it down. The rabbi saw it anyways. I was his target for the next 2 hours. I got called an idiot twice, stupid, and a bunch of other names. I just sat there. I wanted to say something, but I knew the message would not go well. I did, however, get to correct a couple misquotes of famous atheists that he tried to use to prove why atheists are retarded. But there were so many misquotes, and I knew Heather didn't want me to be rude and keep correcting him. According to Heather, I just had to have faith. When asked why I need to have faith, my question was thrown back at me. Because you just gotta have faith. I could not accept this answer, and I'm certain my rejection played a role in our divorce. When she divorced me, not only did I lose her, I lost the burden of my past. For quite some time, even though my time for quite some time, even though my time with Heather, sorry, for quite some time, even through my time with Heather, I tried fitting myself in boxes, including the label of agnostic atheism. But my divorce has shown me that I don't have to be limited to a box. I never neatly fit in them, anyways. I may closely resemble the box of agnostic atheism, but my views would render me not fit for that box either. Pantheist? I once was labeled one, but again, I don't really fit in there either. Will I ever find a box that fits me, that I also won't grow out of? Perhaps not. So I am therefore free to roam around and maybe even create my own box, one that has never been labeled before and is fitted specifically for me. Maybe one day, in 1,000 years from now, they may call it, when one of me pops out, a Chaimist. I can think of no other label to describe myself and my views. They are specifically attached to the defining aspects of my character. Even my sexuality is attached to the essence of my personality. I guess now that I think about it, maybe everyone else's is too, but maybe most don't tie labels to them, but rather it seems that most people tie themselves to the labels. Maybe the answer is to not tie yourself to a label, but to tie the label to you. Maybe the only way to control your life is not to attach yourself to other things, but allow other things to attach themselves to you. Or maybe it's a mixture of both. Maybe time is what is needed to sort this out and find the right balance. I have I found the right balance yet? Not yet, but I definitely am much more balanced than I was since Heather. And since Heather, I have been more comfortable not boxing in God as well. You can't mold something if it is stored away in a box. God has to be taken out and shaped in your image to be understood. That's the only way to answer the question of who and or what is God. That is the end of chapter 6, who and or what is God anyways. And please check out my website, therabbitholeexpress.com. And hopefully when the pandemic is, dead, you guys can come on the most excellent adventure of a lifetime where you find your inner God and make the world your temple by getting high and climbing mountains with me. So yeah, check out therabbitholeexpress.com. And if you're interested in understanding the background of the trip to Ouray through the Rabbit Hole Express, please feel free to purchase my ebook called The Way to Ouray, Down the Rabbit Hole. I promise you, you won't regret it. It'll be an awesome experience. If you liked what you heard here, then you will like my ebook. And if you like the ebook, then you probably will like my interactive ebook adventure where we meet in person, get high and climb mountains, and learn to control our own life story. This has been Chaim Yitzchak Michael Halevi Kopel Harry Gersh Zeitz. But if it's simpler, you can just call me Chaim. This has been real. Peace. End stream. Yeah. Yes, end.